If you asked me 5 years ago where I'd be today, I would have said, still living paycheck to paycheck, trying to fix the espresso machine in my tiny cafe. Now, I own 9 coffee shops across New York City. 9. The flagship store on Fifth Avenue was my pride and joy. Tall glass windows, soft lighting, leather chairs that practically hug you, and the smell of fresh beans roasting every morning. People didn't just come for coffee. They came for this. The morning rush was already in full swing. Suits with briefcases, artists with sketchbooks, college students with laptops, all sipping something I'd perfected over the years. Mr. Moreno, Julia, my manager, slid a steaming cappuccino across the counter. Taste test. Extra foam. Cinnamon dusted just the way you like it. I took a sip, closed my eyes and nodded. Perfect. Put it on the menu. We laughed as she grabbed the chalkboard marker and started writing Cinnamon Kiss Cappuccino in big looping letters. Between customers, I scrolled through Twitter. Nothing but sports memes, cat videos, and someone complaining about tourists blocking the subway stairs again. Business as usual. A group of regulars debated which croissant was best, almond, chocolate, or plain. I sided with almond because of course I did. It was the kind of morning I lived for. Happy customers. Warm coffee. The hum of a city that never slept. Then, as I stood near the window, I noticed someone across the street. They weren't moving, just standing, not looking at their phone, not waiting for a taxi, not talking to anyone, just facing the cafe. I chuckled to myself and looked away, probably just another tourist zoning out. But when I glanced back, they were still there. I didn't mention the person outside to anyone. It wasn't worth turning into a thing. Instead, I turned my focus to what mattered: coffee and customers. By late morning, the shop was alive with energy. Someone had started playing an acoustic guitar in the corner near the couches. A couple of my baristas were laughing at a TikTok while blending fraps. The air smelled like fresh blueberry muffins and dark roast. Julia slid a tray of samples onto the counter. We're trying a new matcha cookie. See if it sells. Within minutes, half the samples were gone. Mostly to college kids with messy hair and giant headphones. I scrolled through Twitter between chatting with customers. A viral video of a squirrel stealing someone's bagel. A photo thread of New York street art. Knicks fans arguing in all caps. Instagram was just as loud: latte art photos, selfies in Central Park, videos of street performers. Nothing strange. Nothing out of place. I was halfway through posting a picture of my cappuccino when I noticed movement outside. The person across the street was gone. In their place, nothing. I glanced further down the block and saw them again, leaning against a lamppost now. Same stance, same stillness. I shrugged it off. Maybe they were just waiting for someone. Reddit kept me distracted for the next hour. r/NYC was filled with restaurant recommendations, subway rant threads, and someone trying to organize a coffee crawl of the city. By the time lunch hit, I'd forgotten all about the figure, until a bus passed by and, just for a second, I saw them again in the reflection of the cafe window, still watching. The lunch crowd was the busiest I'd seen all week. Every table was full. The espresso machine hissed nonstop, and my phone wouldn't stop buzzing with mobile orders. Julia was managing the counter like a general in battle. Another 2 oat milk lattes and a caramel macchiato for pickup, she called out. I was walking between tables, checking in on regulars, when a strange noise cut through the background chatter. Not the hum of the city, not the whir of blenders. A loud, sharp buzz. Every phone in the shop lit up at the same time. Some customers reached for their pockets. Others stared at their Apple Watches. Even the tablet on the counter froze, displaying the same bright red bar across the screen. Emergency alert. Anomaly detected in multiple locations nationwide. Details pending. That was it. No instructions. No advice. Just those few words. People started murmuring. What's that even mean? Is this like an earthquake thing? Maybe it's some glitch. I checked Twitter. Nothing trending except memes about how vague the message was. YouTube? A few live streamers joking about it while sipping coffee in their bedrooms. Reddit had already made a dozen anomaly-detected memes. Within minutes, everyone went back to their drinks and conversations. The barista by the window even joked, "If aliens land, I'm charging them for cappuccinos." I laughed along, but when I glanced outside, I saw the person from earlier. Same spot as before, same stillness. Only now, there were two of them. The rest of the day was supposed to be simple. Coffee, laughter, happy customers. And for the most part it was. The anomaly alert had already turned into a running gag. Customers were pulling up random images on Google, showing them to their friends and saying, "Look, found the anomaly." Someone even asked me if I'd sell a drink called the Anomaly Latte. I was on board. If the government wanted to be cryptic, we'd turn it into free advertising. Julia was updating our Instagram story when she frowned at the window. "Huh. You see those people?" I walked over. Across the street, the two figures stood exactly where I'd last seen them. Side by side now, motionless. One of them had their head tilted slightly, like they were listening to something. I smirked. Street performers with no talent. Julia laughed, and we both got back to work. Twitter was still mostly jokes. At Buzz and Y. Breaking. Anomaly is just my mom making meatloaf again. At TechGeek94. Maybe the anomaly is the fact my rent's still going up. But here and there, I saw the tone shifting. A few posts with grainy photos. One from Chicago, just a blurry shot of a park at night. The caption read, "They're just standing there." The comments were full of people calling it fake. But something about it looked familiar. By evening, I stepped outside to get some air before closing. The street was quieter than usual. When I looked down the block, I saw them again. Not just two now, for all facing the cafe. By the time the last customer left, the figures were still there. Same spot, same posture. The street lamps cast long, distorted shadows behind them, stretching across the pavement like black cracks. I locked the front door, pulled the shades, and told myself they were probably just some odd street performance. This was New York, weird was normal. Julia gave me a quick wave on her way out. "You walking?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, forcing a grin. "Need the air." But I didn't take the long route home. I kept my head down, keys in hand, until I reached my apartment a few blocks away. Once inside, I double-locked the door, kicked off my shoes, and collapsed onto the couch. No late-night news, no checking Twitter, just quiet. By midnight, I was asleep. The next morning, sunlight spilled into my kitchen as I made myself a cup of Colombian roast from my private stash. I sat at the counter with my laptop, ready to skim the morning headlines. Twitter was still buzzing with anomaly jokes, but mixed in were new posts, photos, some from New York, some from Los Angeles. In every one, people stood motionless in public spaces, sidewalks, parking lots, street corners. No one knew why. Some said it was performance art. Others claimed it was some kind of protest. I took another sip of coffee and glanced toward my window. Down on the street, just beyond the crosswalk, two of them, watching my building. I was halfway through my second cup of coffee when I saw it. A Reddit post on r/public freakout had hit the front page overnight. "Why is there a red creature like person in Walmart just standing here?" The attached video was shaky phone footage from someone's cart. At the far end of the aisle, between the cleaning supplies and paper towels, stood something. It was tall, lankier than anyone I'd ever seen. The skin, or whatever it was, looked red like sunburned leather. It didn't move, didn't blink, just stood there. The comments were roasting it. "Man's waiting for a price drop. Bro got lost on the way to Spirit Halloween." When you're in line for 30 minutes and they open another register. Twitter had already turned it into a meme. Someone edited it holding a shopping basket full of hot Cheetos. Another put it in a fake Target ad. Even the morning news made a quick joke about it before moving on to the weather. I laughed along with everyone else, but I couldn't help noticing how much it looked like the ones I'd been seeing outside. When I glanced back out my window, they were still there. 3 now. I woke up to the faint hum of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. Groggy, I grabbed it. expecting some new updates on the strange things outside. But the screen was flooded. Tweets, posts, videos, everyone sharing clips of the red creature that had been spotted in Walmart yesterday. The hashtag red thing was trending, and people were laughing, mocking it like some viral stunt. Scrolling through the comments, some joked about it being a new mascot. Others said it looked like cosplay gone wrong. A few worried voices mentioned how other strange figures had been seen roaming different parts of the city overnight, but most dismissed it as drunken pranks or viral marketing. I glanced out the window. The street looked normal. A few people were walking dogs. Some were grabbing coffee at the corner shop. Life seemed to be moving on despite all the strange chatter. But the alert was still up on my phone. Weird anomaly detected in multiple urban locations. Authorities investigating. Stay tuned for updates. I felt the unease creep back in. Why hadn't the government said anything more? Why keep us in the dark about what these things really were? I got up, made coffee, and checked the news sites. Nothing new. Just blurry photos and more speculation. Even the local news anchors seemed unsure, avoiding direct answers. I opened Twitter again and saw a new post from someone near Walmart. Why is there a red creature just standing inside the store? People just walk past like it's normal. This is insane. That's when I noticed a new message popping up on my phone. A group chat I wasn't in before. It was from some local neighborhood group. The message read, "Heads up. If you see anything weird, don't approach. Just get inside and lock your doors. The creatures don't seem aggressive yet, but better safe than sorry." My fingers hesitated over the keyboard. Should I even respond? Was I being paranoid? I decided to leave the phone alone for a while. Today I'd keep the shop closed, no matter how curious people might be. The day passed uneventfully, but every now and then I'd catch glimpses of odd shadows moving just beyond the corners of my eyes. On the news, people started talking about these creatures, like they were part of some art project or viral prank. But I wasn't convinced. At night, I lay awake, listening for any sounds outside, my mind racing with questions. What were those things? Why were they here? And what would happen next? The next morning, unease twisted tight in my stomach. I decided not to wait for things to get worse before acting. If this was really something strange and dangerous, I needed to be ready. I grabbed my keys and headed out. The streets looked normal again, like nothing had changed overnight. People were chatting at the bus stop, kids on their way to school. But I couldn't shake the feeling that beneath the surface, something was wrong. I went to the corner store, keeping my eyes peeled. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed quietly. I filled my basket with canned food, bottled water, and some snacks, enough to last a few days. The cashier barely looked up when I paid. As I stepped outside, I glanced down the street. A group of people stood clustered near a lamppost, their phones raised, filming something I couldn't see. I felt my chest tighten. Back at home, I stacked the food on the kitchen counter and sat down to catch up on any news. The emergency alert system beeped sharply, breaking the silence. I unlocked my phone. The screen flashed red. Emergency alert. Unidentified anomaly spreading rapidly across multiple regions. Residents advised to stay indoors immediately. Do not approach unknown entities. Authorities are deploying response teams. Further instructions to follow. My heart pounded. The message was more urgent this time. No vague, weird anomaly. Now it was spreading, and the tone was unmistakably serious. I stared out the window. The streetlights flickered, and in the distance, faint sirens wailed. Somewhere nearby, a dog barked anxiously. My phone buzzed again, this time a video from a local news crew. The footage showed a dark figure standing still in the middle of a crowded plaza. People moved around it, some laughing nervously, others freezing in place. Suddenly, the figure's head twisted in an unnatural way, snapping toward the camera. The video cut off. I swallowed hard. Whatever this was, it wasn't a prank anymore. I locked every door and window, turned off the lights, and sat in the dark with my supplies nearby. The tension in the air was thick, and all I could do was wait, and hope I was ready. The house was eerily quiet. except for the faint buzz of the old refrigerator and the occasional creak of the settling walls. I sat near the window, my phone dimmed but close by. The emergency alert still blinked red on the screen, a constant reminder that things were spiraling. Minutes dragged like hours. Then I heard it, a soft scratching at the front door. My heart slammed against my ribs. I froze, ears straining. The scratching grew louder, more persistent, like fingernails tapping on wood. I didn't dare look. I grabbed the flashlight from the kitchen drawer, switched it on, and aimed the beam at the door. Nothing. Then came a low, guttural sound. Almost a whisper, but filled with menace. It wasn't human. I swallowed the lump in my throat and texted a quick message to my dad. Something's outside. Not sure what it is. No reply. The scratching stopped suddenly, replaced by a heavy silence that pressed against my chest. I tried to steady my breathing. My phone buzzed again, a new alert from the city's emergency system. All residents must remain indoors. Do not attempt to engage or investigate unidentified entities. Curfew enforced until further notice. I realized then that this wasn't some prank or viral stunt. Whatever was out there was serious, and it was getting closer. The scratching started again, this time accompanied by faint footsteps pacing slowly just beyond the door. I backed away, heart racing, and whispered to myself, "Please, just go away."